Good morning, everyone. I was on Facebook and YouTube this morning before work, like I do. And I was watching the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur was unhappy with Sam Harris. And I just wanted to put out my thoughts on his, as Sam Harris prefers Ben Carson's foreign policy to Noam Chomsky's. Cenk Uygur does not like the way Sam Harris speaks. And I can see where he would have this issue. Cenk is a bit reactionary. I think that's safe to say. He has strong reactions to things that may be a little questionable. And Sam Harris, yes, does purposefully phrase things in a slightly ambiguous way if you're not really paying attention or if you're assuming the worst in someone. I can only express how I heard what he was talking about. In this particular instance, Ted Cruz was concerned about the Syrian refugees and some of them being jihadists. And Sam was saying that from Ted Cruz's point of view, he didn't say that, unfortunately. He was a little convoluted and saying we have to take this section of what Ted Cruz said because he's not crazy in asking the question, is there a possibility that some of these people are jihadists? I like to think I understand how Sam Harris, after reading some of his books and watching many of his interviews and debates, how he approaches things. And in my mind, it's perfectly reasonable. You can say almost anything inflammatory and outrageous, and then when you come back and explain that in this particular instance, in this small framework, if you only look at this part of his policy and understand how his consciousness or his thought process works and his concerns, that he would, of course, question, it would be rational for him to question whether some of them were jihadists. Cenk is not quite as subtle in this, and I think he has a beef with Sam. Well, he obviously has a beef with Sam Harris just because of Sam Harris's speech patterns and how he gets to certain conclusions. He could have, and probably should have, no, because that would cause less, as I'm thinking about it. The way Sam Harris is doing it is causing people to talk about it more, and I think that is probably one of his goals, is to get people to talk about it more and to dig down into the issue and to take him out of context, so then he has to come back and defend it. So I think some of that's done purposefully. But if instead of using, I use the other one where he says he'd rather vote for Ben Carson over Noam Chomsky because Ben Carson's concern over Muslim fundamentalism is more on the mark than Noam Chomsky's thoughts on that. And again, I see it, and I could be wrong, but as I interpret what Sam Harris was saying, was in this narrow context, Ben Carson is more correct to be concerned about jihadists than Noam Chomsky's disregard for them, essentially. But and then he also goes on to say Ben Carson is a crazy religious nutbagger in every other area. But in this concern, he feels that Ben Carson has a concern or a question that should be looked into. Nothing unreasonable. If he had instead used somebody else, Richard Dawkins. I don't know if Richard Dawkins has expressed this concern on this topic specifically, but if Sam Harrison had said, I would vote for Richard Dawkins over Noam Chomsky because Richard Dawkins understands the dangers of fundamentalism and Muslim jihadist fundamentalism in particular at this moment, I would vote for Richard Dawkins. Cenk would not have had any issue with that statement or with that sentiment because he understands that that the rest of his beliefs are atheist. Richard Dawkins' beliefs, the rest of Richard Dawkins' beliefs are atheist and rational and well thought out, and that Sam Harris was just taking that one aspect of what Richard Dawkins may or may not think. I'm putting words in his mouth as an example. Then he would have been okay with it. But because he picked Ben Carson, who's a controversial character in politics right now, and clearly an idiot, except in this one bracket where he very carefully and kind of slimily worded it. He did. He worded it in a way to make it as controversial as possible. But I don't think he said anything that really anybody would disagree with. If you're Ben Carson, you should definitely have that concern and ask these questions. If you're Ted Cruz, of course he's going to ask these questions and have these concerns. That's really not, because they've already expressed those questions and concerns. So Sam Harris didn't say anything controversial there. He just said it in a very convoluted way, as he does many things. And Cenk hates it. And I think it's kind of funny. So I just wanted to express my thoughts on the Sam Harris controversy. He's not saying anything controversial. He's just saying it in a slimy way or a convoluted way so that he then has to come back and discuss it further. Well done, Sam, and you, Cenk, you played right into it. Congratulations. Warning.